thank you so much. This is really energizing. My question, how individuals, we are professors of universities, and how I know you're trying to get institutes and organizations to be part of what you are developing. However, I'm interested also in individuals, how individuals can be also contributing to this initiative.
That's a really good question. And a hard one, except that, let me start with some of these initiatives. Let's start with PLUS, the Partners for Languages in the United States. If you're an individual faculty member, you should look at that and see what that is. Then you should go to your chair and you should say, we deserve to be branded as a leading organization because I know what we can teach. We can set standards here. We can be evaluated against those standards. We're good enough. So I, as a faculty member, want my chair to at least talk about this, to get my chair to go talk to my dean and say, we need to do this. Because this is all about higher education. Standing up and saying, we're really good. I'm tired of us being told we're not good enough. We are, but we have to, we have standards. We have all the standards and so on. And the flagship organizations, all of those, we have those. So that's one thing. You go to your chair as an individual. Now for landscape and so on, you need to get your chair and your students to see this tool. You need to go on the web and see this incredible tool and say now, we want to own that tool. And then you go, and the chair is going, these organizations need to own that tool because as I explained to you, that tool, it's a map where you click anywhere, you get all the languages spoken. And so then you click one of those languages and you get a wiki that tells you all the experts, all the materials and so on. However, it's not filled. The wikis aren't filled. Only filled for African and only a small portion of the 7,497 languages of Africa. Yes. You exaggerate. There are 2,003 languages there. Don't say 2,500. What is this? I'm kidding. But we need the organizations to fill in the data. The organization should announce that they will fill in those wikis. They know where the experts are. They know where the best materials are, and so on. They should fill them in. So if anybody wants to rev up in those languages, they have to come to Langnet, Landscape, and they will go to the organizations that have the expertise. That's where they belong, not in someone out there who thinks they know a little bit about the language. Now, Language for All. Language for All, again, is a grassroots thing in that we have now evidence, for instance, 23 states in the United States, 23 states give credit for language acquired, give credit, high school credit, secondary school credit for language acquired no matter how. That's because it's so hard to get it into K-8 schools that now they're letting you get credit in high school if you've learned it because you lived overseas, because you have parents or you have heritage parents or something, you were a military child, or you just were nuts enough to go on the web and learn the language, and you can put a portfolio together that is remarkable, okay? That's a sign of what I meant of the grassroots coming up, okay? And so parents, as parents, you can say, we want to join that. Why, if I'm not in one of those states, why isn't my state doing this? And if I am, I want to be in this. I want my children, I want my school board to know about these opportunities. The other thing is with Languages for All, we need to push the organizations. We want our organizations to say we buy into the common vision. In this country, and I'm sorry, only speaking about this country, the rest of the world is so far ahead of us. I'm speaking for only the English-speaking countries. We want all the people in this country to know what language is and what the world is. Okay? So all of them, but only 50% need to, we're targeting 50% in 10 years to learn language. Of that 50%, we want half of them to learn it enough to use it and enjoy it to travel or to work in McDonald's. Okay? Then the next part, we want to help those attorneys and those business people get real expertise so they can practice professionally and compete with the job market, on the job market around the world. And then we want to support our graduate program. We need our organizations to buy that vision, to buy the action plan that says we're going to do this in 10 years, we're going to do evidence, we're going to be really hard-nosed about it, and then we're going to turn to the government and say, will you either get on board or get out of the way? Okay? Get on, come join us, or get out of the way, because we're going. And you know what? There's nothing like a rejected suitor to make a suitor more interested in you. Sorry. Another lecture.
Hi, my name is Sandra Sane from Yale University. I found your presentation very interesting. I have been listening to you for many years, and you're always interesting. I like the sound of this because it sounded very democratic, and it sounded as though it might free us from the grueling process of applying for federal government money that most of us go through every 4 years at least. But then I saw in your action plan that in phase 1 there was organizing, something else, and vetting. Now vetting sounds to me a little bit like, deciding who's in and who's out. So I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about that.
That's a real question. Thank you very much for that. Oh, by the way, I'm not averse to getting federal money. I'm just averse to kissing their rings to get it. Okay. Very carefully done. Because they need us. So, but let me talk about the vetting. The vetting was meant to, and I have to change the word, it was meant to be just the opposite of that. Just because this group of organizations got together, they have no right to speak for the rest of the country. They have no right to speak for an institution or any other organization that isn't at that table. So the vetting was to instead of telling people we've done it, we've decided it all, this is what we're proposing, this is what you need to know, so you can argue and say no, or you can join us and say yes, or you can just stand aside. But the vetting was to make sure that it didn't look like a bunch of arrogant people, which some of us are, some of them are making a decision that you have no part of. Okay, and so that's what this is. We're going around talking to people and say, this is what we would like to do, but we're smart enough to know we can't do it without everybody having a chance to be in or stand aside or oppose. So thank you. I'll make sure that gets put in. Yes. Speak up. I'm old.
Okay. I'm very excited about this initiative that you have. And you were talking about technology, and I think technology would play a very important role. And I was curious, what kind of technologies are you looking at to make languages more accessible to everyone? And the reason why I'm so interested in this is because I'm now designing a group for language courses for Sarah. And I was wondering to what extent technology plays in this in your vision.
Everyone in this room, or most of the people in this room, could answer this a lot better than I. But I'll try to say it, in my view, the simplest way. It's social media. That basically now, the people who are using the technology most are 13-year-olds, are ninth graders, those are the people who are doing all this live mocha and Duolingo and all of this stuff. They're doing this, and parents, everybody's doing it. We have to capture the social media, because what we want to do is show that if you're taking advantage of the technology and you're tempted to do it yourself, you will not succeed without a mentor. You need to tie this to a mentor, to a course, and the mentors need to tie this technology to these students, because that's what they're going to do anyhow. The two tricks with technology: you need a mentor and you need a community of learning bound by the technologies. And that's what I would say. It's not a textbook. It's not, it's not delivering from on high. It's taking advantage of the fact that you can build communities of learners. So it's the whole problem about language learning and technology is motivation. I'm too busy. Can't tell you how many languages I've started, and they went down flaming because something else got in the way. I didn't have someone calling me up, Skyping me and saying, or whatever, and saying, where you part of your assignment? We're supposed to do this together, okay? We all know what learning communities are, and we need a mentor, and technology can tie in the mentor. Every once in a while, just tie in this special thing. So there's a mentor available, a mentor maybe with graduate students available, and so and a course all over the country bound by these technologies and all these social media relationships that you can put in, and all of this stuff. So the mentor, the community of learning with the technology, in my view, so that you can, that's what the difference is that we see, and I'm only repeating what I've heard and watched. I watch my grandchildren do this now, and it knocks my socks off. Their thumbs are this long now. You know, it's frightening. That's what I meant by technology. Yes?
I'm Devaku Naraza from Indiana.
Yes.
I'm so enthused by your enthusiasm. I will take the placard either way. But we are leaving out or sidelining the major source of funding so far, government, right? And then we say we'll partner with industry because they are the consumers. Now those guys care about one thing, the bottom line. How are we going to interest them, to pull them in, that so much so that we can say to government, no, we have enough money on our own without you. You can come in if you like. If you don't like, we still are going to go.
Let me make it very clear first. Getting money from the government is a really wonderful thing, and we'll take anything they have. No, because they do some great work. But I want to make it very clear. The government is struggling now. The biggest problem is Tom Haynes, who's one of the major players in our government, and his biggest problem is taking a cut of 20 or 30% for his language programs. And so it's really hard in government. The reason we're not asking more from government because they won't give it to us because they don't have it. So I just want to make that clear. Now let me come to industry. I have interviewed Deloitte. Let's talk about Deloitte. I have personally talked to a vice president of Deloitte. And the vice president of Deloitte tells me, Deloitte is a major consulting and accounting and all that, right? Says, I'm in a global war. I said, what the hell are you talking about, a global war? He said, it's a global war for talent. I cannot hire enough people to support my business. I am paying Monster.com, I'm paying headhunters and so on. I can't find the people in this country or any other country that knows enough about accounting or about strategic planning and so on, and knows enough language that they can move around and practice their profession. So let's talk about Bloomingdale's. Bloomingdale's in December comes to us and said, I need 200 people who can speak Chinese, and I need them now. Because they're being flooded at the Christmas market with buyers. And they say, and we're not calling them customers, we want them to be clients. And the difference between a customer and a client is a customer is a one-time sale. A client is someone who believes that they care, the person cares about them. How do you show that? You speak Mandarin or you speak Wu or whatever else to them, right? And so this is Bloomingdale's. And so across the board, Goldman Sachs, same difference. And the number of people with Tiffany's, I love Tiffany's, and so on. These are the people we've talked to, and I'm not making it up. The global market, the global job market is growing for looking for people who can practice and move around and at least have experience in another language or another culture. This is not blowing smoke. Okay, I'm not making it up. So the issue is, you guys need this, okay? Where do you think your supply is going to come from? We're able to talk to you, and for full disclosure, I am involved in a startup. It's called GPS, Global Professional Search, with my daughter, who is a graduate of Wharton, and it is a handshake between the jobs of these companies I've just mentioned and getting a full understanding of those jobs and getting a total profile of the learners in our graduating from our education, and with a handshake, and it's very, very detailed. It says how much language and all that, how much time have you been abroad, have you studied this part of the world, very, very involved, so that the handshake comes like this. It's like an eHarmony of jobs. And what you get is a ranking from 1 to 5 on the match, not on how good you are or anything else. That's called GPS. If you want to invest in that, you're welcome to do it. But the reason I'm saying that is, I've looked at this, and in every place we go saying, we desperately need this service because we can't find the people to work for us, okay? So I'm not, this is not rhetoric, it may sound like it, but it's not. We've done the research, and right now the data showing that basically for professionals with good language, basically that 30% of the education system graduates around the world, we are only graduating 30% of the people we're going to need in the next 25 years. Around the world, not just the United States. That's it. It's a global war for talent. If that, and talk about bottom line, if these people can't get the talent they need to compete with the people they're competing with, right now it's an open competition. There's a value now proposition for language they've never seen before. Now they have to pay for it. Yes. You stop us when...
Yeah, this is just a compliment. And I would like to just invite you to learn either Yoruba or Swahili because we're a sweet talker.
I would love to do that. My greatest regret is not learning Yoruba, Swahili, or anything. Or how many languages am I going to offend? Lingala, and so on. I know. I was raised in the time when Russian was the only language we cared about in the United States. So we're back.
I cannot resist to ask you this question.
I knew it. Excuse me. The time's up.
I have watched this young man since we first interacted in '87, and what you hear from him and see him do is absolutely phenomenal.
There's a question.
Enthusiasm. No, first of all, the comment, the prelude. I am an educator. We want to set the parameters around which the question act in a way that his enthusiasm is not only infectious, but it never wanes. So my question to you on behalf of this audience is, how do you do it? This is not meant to be a facetious question because, as you well know, in academia, you face so many obstacles. You can begin with a great deal of passion, and then you give up because you feel like you're hitting your head against the wall. But you have gone kinetically from the beginning until the end. This is the kind of enthusiasm that used to drive us crazy when we started Nicotable, and he still has it. So if I were to act with permission from the rest of the conference to perhaps ask you in 2015 to give us a sort of a workshop. We've done workshop on technology, workshop on this. How about workshop on being an informed and organic, advocate for languages. This evening, I'll be saying something more about this man and the other one who left us. But I find this profound, that somebody continues for 20-some years to be so engaged and so on. How do you do it? You take the mic now.
You will be a star very soon.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Thank you. In addition to that workshop, maybe you could put like a little presentation about how do you break through the layers? And how do you do it with grace? And as,
Yes. Let me make it very clear. Very clear. You grow up. You grow up with circumstances that you don't really like. And you make up your mind that you have to change them. And so when I gave my last lecture, I said it's really simple. You have to see things different. You have to feel things passionate, and you have to do things hard. You have to see things. It's not only wanting to change. You have to see where change can happen, where people don't see it. Because that fresh view of them changes their mind about the prejudices of what they've always faced. You have to see things different. And obviously, you have to feel things passionate. One of the things is, I can't tell you how many times I've heard some people say, you know what you say is ridiculous, is wrong, but boy, am I convinced you believe it. That's very important, because when people believe you really believe it, they have to take a step back. Again, the passionate stuff falls away. The prejudice falls away. And finally, do things hard. You have to make up your mind. It's a full-time job. And it requires weekends and evenings and a very, very understanding spouse.
Amen. Amen.